Did they just sign Tim Boyle?
No, Tim Boyle's. I mean, it's when Aaron Rodgers shows up somewhere, Tim Boyle gets out of the suitcase. Like you open the luggage and
like
it's
a cartoon.
Yeah, it's Tim Boyle, Randall Cobb, Nathaniel Hackett, Billy Turner. They all come in roller luggage. They forgot the one bag I wanted, Mercedes Lewis.
Welcome to the opening bell of the NFL Stock Exchange podcast. I'm Trevor Sikkema. That is Connor Rogers joining you on a Monday edition of the show, getting your Thanksgiving week kicked off right with a little mock draft flavor. We did this a couple weeks ago. I wrote a mock draft. Connor tore it to pieces. Got 5 picks where he said, no, this is absolute BS. We're not rolling with that. We got to change it. And today I get to do that for Connor's because Connor put out a recent mock draft. It wasn't this Monday. I think it was last Monday. Connor, is that correct? Is it?
Yeah. Last Wednesday.
Last Wednesday.
You're close enough.
So I just wanted to make sure people knew, like, the order, if they go read it online, which they should, it's going to be a little different than it stands today because we've had a Thursday and a Sunday since, but it's close enough. I'm going to take a look at it. I'm going to identify 5 picks that I would change. Connor, how the hell are you doing, my friend?
I'm good, man. There's already some that I would change, so I'm open. I'm open here.
All right, so it's 5 picks that I would change, and then it's 1 pick that you would change.
Without a doubt, man. You know what? I'm doing well. It's exciting. Me and you were talking about this before we started recording. Like, think about years ago, we used to write these wherever, God knows where, and you just wanted 3 people to read it, and now it's one of those things where you write one and you get the overwhelming amount of responses. People make YouTube videos going through your mock drafts. It's really cool how much people care, honestly, about the draft this time of year is really my point. We're really grateful for that. And it's great when, we can get you involved on things I write and vice versa. So I'm good. I'm excited. And I guess for those that haven't seen it, and the full thing's on NBCsports.com.
Wow.
I should probably, promo. I should probably just rip through this thing, right, Trevor?
Yeah, so we can get it started like we did a couple weeks ago. For the people that aren't watching this on YouTube, and I guess even for the people that are, that maybe haven't read the mock yet, Connor's going to read his entire first-round mock draft. So you get a mock draft Monday type of a feel, but we're not going to go through every single selection. We'll kind of highlight a handful of them as we talk about these teams and, kind of who's up, who's down, who they're targeting, all that good stuff. But yeah, my friend, I will hand it over to you. Read off to the good people your most updated mock.
So number 1, the Bears picking via the Carolina Panthers. They take Caleb Williams, quarterback from USC. Number 2, the Giants, who had a surprise. Well, it's against Washington, who they always beat. So maybe not a surprise win, but the Giants with a big win this weekend that does move them out of this spot. But at number 2, when I wrote it, they take Drake May, quarterback UNC. Number 3, the Patriots, the most criticized pick, and I get it. I had them take Olu Fashanu, the tackle from Penn State.
Okay, we're gonna get into that very quickly. The fact that you said it was the most criticized.
Oh my God, I got devoured for this pick.
Okay, we're gonna talk about that the second that you're done reading it, because that's not even one of the 5 that I would change because it's a good one. But we're gonna get into it.
There we go. Number 4, the Arizona Cardinals. They take Marvin Harrison Jr. 5, the Bears with their actual pick take Malik Neighbors, the wide receiver from LSU. At 6, the Packers, another team that got an upset win this weekend. They take Joe Alt, the tackle from Notre Dame. 7, the Rams. They take the tackle from Georgia, Amarius Mims. 8, the Tennessee Titans. They take Brock Bowers, the tight end out of Georgia. 9, the Denver Broncos. Laiatu Latu, edge pass rusher, UCLA. 10, the Atlanta Falcons. Chop Robinson, another edge pass rusher, this time from Penn State. 11, the Washington Commanders take Talis Fuaga, the big, nasty right tackle from Oregon State. 12, the Tampa Bay Bucks take Jared Verse, edge pass rusher, Florida State. 13, the New York Jets, they take Keon Coleman, wide receiver from Florida State. 14, the Los Angeles Chargers, they get Kool-Aid McKinstry, corner, Alabama. 15, the Indianapolis Colts, Roma Dunze, wide receiver out of Washington. 16, the Las Vegas Raiders take J.C. Latham, offensive tackle out of Alabama, to play across from Colton Miller. 17, the Buffalo Bills take Cooper DeJean, the corner out of Iowa. 18, the Bengals take Troy Fautanu, the offensive lineman from Washington. 19, the Saints take Jordan Morgan, the tackle from Arizona. 20, the Cardinals via the Houston Texans. They're taking Jerzon Newton, defensive lineman out of Illinois. That is their 2nd pick in the first round. 21, the Minnesota Vikings take Michael Penix, quarterback out of Washington. 22, Dallas Cowboys take Dallas Turner, edge player from Alabama. 23, the Pittsburgh Steelers take Nate Wiggins, corner, Clemson. 24, the Texans via the Cleveland Browns. They take Troy Franklin, the speedy wide receiver out of Oregon. 25, the Miami Dolphins take Patrick Paul, tackle out of Houston. 26, the Seahawks, Tyler Nubin, safety out of Minnesota. 27, the San Francisco 49ers take Terrion Arnold, the cornerback from Alabama. 28, Jacksonville Jaguars take Graham Barton, offensive lineman at Duke. 29, the Baltimore Ravens take Emeka Ibuka, the wide receiver out of Ohio State. 30, the Detroit Lions take Kamari Lassiter, corner, Georgia. 31, the Kansas City Chiefs take Adonai A.D. Mitchell, wide receiver from Texas. And finally, Philadelphia Eagles at 32 take T.J. Tampa, the corner from Iowa State.
All right. Obviously, for anybody out there, we're going to talk about a handful of these picks, but if one really stood out to you, let us know in the comments. It's a great way to get in on the mock. Okay, let's talk about the Patriots pick. So you have the Patriots picking number 3 overall, and you have them taking Penn State offensive tackle Olu Fashanu. I don't understand how you got pushback from that other than the fact that it's not Caleb Williams or Drake May who were not on the board. Like, when you look at the New England Patriots, offensive line was a major need for them last offseason. Like, we talked about the Patriots potentially drafting a first-round offensive lineman last year, and that is not something that they did. They went cornerback and Christian Gonzalez, who's a good football player. I'm not going to fight too much against that. But then Keon White, Marte Mapu, they didn't draft O-line until the 4th round when they drafted Jake Andrews, and they had Antonio Mafi and City So after that. So, like, they drafted a couple of these younger guys, but we're talking about day 3 players. Trent Brown's a free agent coming up, and he's going to be over 30 years old. Michael Onwenu's a free agent coming up and has been, like, in and out of the lineup over the last couple of years. This is a team that's bottom 10 in the NFL in total pass blocking grade, total offensive line grade, and total pressures allowed. Where is the hate, Connor? Please.
So, yes. Number one, if people are like, I really want Marvin Harrison Jr., I'm like, okay, cool. But the outcry that this pick is insane. I think people are missing how good Olu Fashanu really is. I think because
clearly, if you're getting hate for it,
it's very easy to see how good Marvin Harrison Jr. is if you just watch college football. But Olu Fashanu is blue chip at left tackle at a position that, man, we've had good tackle prospects over the years. Off the top of my head, I haven't liked a tackle this much since Penei Sewell. No, I would say Icky's up there too. I loved Icky, but very different player. So different than Fashanu. Man, he's just such a gifted athlete as a pass protector. And the one question coming into this year was improving as a run blocker, and he has improved as a run blocker. And the fact that the premium put on offensive line in this league right now, and also still thinking into how New England operates, I think it would be easier for New England to go get a number 1 wide receiver in trade or free agency than it would be able to get a tackle with the talent of Olu Fashanu. So, I mean, I get it. Like, if you flip this pick, I'm like, yeah, great. You got Marvin Harrison Jr. But it's very hard for me to say this pick is just out there.
No, the kind of the way that you set it up there, if people would rather have Marvin Harrison Jr., like you said, private money.
He's my number 1 player over the summer.
But to get like actual backlash over it's kind of crazy because we've said it before on this podcast, and you just kind of mentioned it right there. It's easier to get impact wide receivers than it is impact offensive tackles. Good offensive linemen, they don't hit the trade block, they don't hit free agency, and they don't get out of the top 15 of NFL drafts. Like, good offensive tackle, I would say that, like, the great ones, the ones that you think are going to be truly elite offensive tackles, don't make it out of the top 10. So unless you are drafting one in the top 10, there's a good chance that you're not even going to you're not even going to be able to get your hands on one. Whereas wide receiver, even some of the best wide receivers in the NFL, like Tyreek Hill got traded, right? And that was like at a time when he was the best wide receiver in the NFL. Devontae Adams moved from team to team. And I know there's situations and there's things in the background that go into that, but that just goes to show you, like, that never, ever really happens with elite offensive tackles. So Marvin Harrison Jr. is the shiny toy. I get it. I mean, he's unbelievable and he'd be great for that offense, but to get backlash for a player like Olu Fashanu, especially for a team that absolutely needs offensive line, is a little crazy to me. People are going to, if y'all disagree, if you guys are maybe one of the people that thinks like, no way, you can't pick this guy over Marvin Harrison Jr., again, please let us know in the comments because I'd love to read what you have to think, read the reasons why, and then have a little back and forth with you. But that was not one of the picks that I would change because I liked it. The first pick that I would change in this mock we got to go, like actually you said for mine, you gave me a compliment. You said it was a good mock. This was also a very good mock in a lot of ways. And I looked at, okay, I could change this here and there. Like I looked at Chicago and I saw Malik Neighbors at 5 and I was like, whoa, all right, Neighbors at 5 is a little high. I might be able to change that. But, I don't hate their offensive tackles right now.
That's where I landed. I was like, they're not as bad as I thought.
Right. I mean, sure. Would I like for them to add Latu? Like, would I say that like Latu would be a fantastic pick there at 5 for them? Yes, but I don't hate Neighbors. Like, I think Neighbors does a great job for them as well. Like, it's the same kind of connection. It's the same kind of feel of getting Caleb Williams, Drake May at number 1. And then a lot of times it was like, oh, Marvin Harrison Jr. if they were picking 2. So I don't hate it. So I got to go all the way down to number 8. I guess not all the way down. So this is the Tennessee Titans taking Brock Bowers, who I absolutely think is a Mike Vrabel fit. The thing that worries me about this one, and maybe it shouldn't matter this much, but I wonder how much Vrabel is going to be on the hot seat a little bit just going into next year. Can you take a tight end at 8? Knowing where knowing where you are in your rebuild as a team, right? Rand Carthen comes in as the general manager. It's kind of like a long-term build. Will Levis and Brock Bowers is a really nice 1-2 punch. I like that moving forward. It's good. But you can't block up front. It's tough. And I know that Bowers definitely helps you up front because he's a good blocker. But this is one where I would switch Brock Bowers out with Talize Fuaga, a guy who I love a lot, who I think is going to be a great variable fit anyways. He's an ass kicker in the run game. Look, he doesn't have the smoothest footwork. He's not covering as much ground as, Olufashano is or Joe Alt is. And like even sometimes JC Latham is somebody who covers a lot of ground in his kick slides. It's shorter stride lengths, maybe not as flexible with Talize Fuaga, but I still think he's got the active, powerful hands, and I just feel as though this is somebody who is only getting better. He gets to the NFL level. I love that mentality, love that strength, and I think that this is really the type of ass kicker that the Titans needed. To me, with just Peter Skoronski as a guy on that offensive line that I can really hang my hat on. There's some other okay guys on the offensive line, but you're really trying to build a wall on that offensive line moving forward. And to me, if you get Skoronski in his second year, and then Talize Fuaga in his first year, that's a really good 1-2 offensive line pick. The next year, you probably add another guy in there. And then all of a sudden, in a year or two, you're talking about potentially having one of the best offensive lines in the conference. So to me, it starts up front there with them. And I love Brock Bowers, but to me, where the Titans are and how bad the trenches are for him right now, I keep going back to offensive tackle. So I got to change it to an offensive tackle pick.
No argument for me. I mean, I like Bowers a lot better as a player, but the draft isn't always that simple. And Tennessee, they're in a tough place on the offensive line. I got a lot of feedback on this one the same way, and I understand it. They got to keep rebuilding this offensive line. Skoronski was a nice start. It's so frustrating with Tennessee because if you don't take a pass catcher here, you look at their pass catching group as Hop gets older. And you're like, man, Levis isn't going to have a lot to work with. But then you also go to your point, Trevor, and go, if they don't improve this offensive line, it doesn't matter who's out there. It's the meme all over again. Levis getting tackled and, nobody,
right.
Yeah. And there's Brock Bowers wide open down the field. That'll never get old. It'll never get old. If you don't know what we're talking about, it's the Jamar Chase Penei Sewell debate for the Bengals. Created an incredible draft meme that will live on in glory. But yeah, I get it. I think that it's so weird, Bowers, because nobody will deny he is a great football player. He's an elite receiving tight end. He is a viable, good blocker. He's got, I think, maybe the best hands in the draft. But you go through the top 15 picks and you're like, I don't know. It's Washington, maybe.
I don't know, Jim.
Yeah, that's exactly that's what it feels like. Oh man, I've had a lot of Romo games for the Jets this year, and I've got my fill of that.
That's one of my favorite memes, honestly. Just the one where it's Tony Romo's picture. She's like, I don't know, Jim.
It's so great, but that's how I feel about Brock Bowers in a mock draft.
I don't know, Connor.
Look,
I think that this is a really good pairing. I was looking up Nuke's contract because he's under contract for this year. It's actually a really team-friendly deal for 2023. He's only on the cap $3.7 million this year. It bumps all the way up to 15.9 next year, and then he's got some void years attached to it. So, that's kind of like how they're getting around, I think, paying him a lot of money to be there. And it is, it is one of those situations where what's the future of this receiving core as well? Because I think that you signed Hopkins as a short-term dude, right? I mean, not that I don't think that he's going to, not that I think he's going to retire immediately after this season, but you clearly signed Hopkins to compete this year, for Ryan Tannehill to be his quarterback, for Derrick Henry to be their running back, and to kind of make a push for an AFC playoff spot. It's not where this roster is. We felt like the Titans were punching above their weight class for the last couple of years, and this year it just fell all the way down to now they're a team that's going to be picking in the top 10. So for me, I'd be changing this one to offensive tackle. Although, of course, it's tough because they would absolutely love a guy like Brock Bowers. But as our good friend Alex Clancy would say, you got to eat your vegetables, right? I mean, if you don't have the front on the offensive or defensive line to be able to pick a tight end like Bowers, then I don't know. I think you got to look. I think you got to look elsewhere in the trenches. Okay, you want to go to my next one?
It's going back to the memes. It's like the fancy sports car parked in next
Brock Bowers,
the house falling apart. Yeah. All right, I'm done with the meme comps for the day.
No. This show lives on memes. They have to go on. They absolutely have to go on. So Falcons. That's where we're going next. 2 spots down. They picked 10 overall.
You're changing who Arthur Smith isn't going to feature? Always a fun game.
Well, I hope he features a quarterback because I'm giving him Bo Nix. You had
he technically has to.
You're right. I mean, he might not. He could sign Marcus Mariota back. I don't know. Ryan Tannehill, actually.
I've been saying that jokingly, but not jokingly for a long time. Ryan Tannehill is the quarterback of your 2024 Atlanta Falcons.
Oh, man. You know what I'm
picking in no man's land. Arthur Smith is afraid.
I was thinking about this the other day. I don't know. This isn't groundbreaking. This isn't brand new, but Justin Fields at least looked good against the Lions. Productive, I should say. I didn't look at the all 22, so I can't exactly say he was for sure good. But he seemed at least productive. Obviously led the team in passing yards, but he also led the team in rushing yards. He had over 100 yards passing. He had over 100 yards running. So the talent is still there for Justin Fields. Would Arthur Smith entertain that kind of a trade, right? Because if the Bears end up getting the number 1 overall pick, there are some people who say, no, use those 2 top 5 picks on really good players, build around Justin Fields. I don't think the timing lines up for that, right? Because by the time the rest of the roster is as good as it's going to need to be for you to legitimately compete in the playoffs, you're going to have to then sign Justin Fields to a massive contract if he turns out to be the quarterback that you want to invest in. Some people would say that is worth it. I think it's kind of bad timing for where they're currently at in their rebuild. So Justin Fields potentially in Atlanta?
So is that the change?
No.
You get a bonus change here.
No,
I was just take that'll be dealt for Fields.
The change, no. The change is I draft Bo Nix at 10, right? If you tell me that this is the quarterback room for the Falcons going into the draft next year, meaning they did not sign a Ryan Tannehill or whoever. Shoot, even if they did, I'd be interested in still drafting a quarterback. You're probably not signing Ryan Tannehill and then drafting a quarterback at 10. At that point, you might go with a pass rusher like you had. But in this scenario, if they're walking into the NFL draft with the same quarterback room that they have now, I'm taking a quarterback. I'm taking Bo Nix. And this is somebody who I seem to be higher on than most people, but don't even look at the stats, man. I think that people sometimes look at Bo Nix's stats and they just go, oh, dude, he's it's Oregon's offense. They're making it easy for him. Look at all the yards after catch these guys are getting. And that's true, but watch the arm talent in between these throws. It's accurate. It's got zip. It's got all sorts of velocity at all 3 levels of the field. He's a legit rushing threat as well. He could be a really good dual threat RPO type of a quarterback for you. So I think that he's a fantastic option. I'm not quite there with Jaden Daniels yet. I know some people are going to scream at us in the comments because I've seen Jaden Daniels going to the Falcons, but with them having a top 10 pick, if the Falcons were picking like back end of the first round, that's somewhere where I'd say like, okay, like now we're starting to get into Daniels range, but I'm not there yet. I'd still take Bo Nix. Bo Nix is still my QB3. And I don't want to say too much in Jaden Daniels because we're actually going to get to him later, and I forgot.
Oh, giving away the goods.
Yeah. Yeah.
Listen, the Falcons need a point guard, right? They have a lot of shiny parts.
That's what I think.
But
Nix is excellent at it, if you ask me.
He is. I agree. I can't draft a point guard in my heart at 10. That's my biggest thing. Like I obviously you and I see Nix a little differently. I just wonder, and maybe the answer is no, but can you find a point guard on day 2 of the draft, or do you have to use a top 10 pick? Like with Arthur's offense, it doesn't feel like it's ever going to be star driven at the quarterback position, because the number one, I wrote this in the mock draft, they're going to win. They're going to pick in no man's land. They're not going to be in territory for Caleb Williams or Drake May. And when I say in territory, that doesn't just mean 1 or 2. There's a chance that a team picks in the top 2 that trades out, like Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
And there's going to be a lot of teams that try to move up. And even them, the Falcons picking outside the top 8, you're probably too far out to move up. You never know, but I don't know. They're a weird one. They really are, because does Bo Nix make them better? He absolutely does. He absolutely does.
I think he makes him a playoff team this year.
In that division?
Right. Correct.
Yeah. It is weird. It's right. You're not
as high on Nix as I am, though. So I'm confident in saying that I feel as though he would make them a playoff team.
Well, if I was going quarterback here, I would take Penix, because I just look at what Penix can do physically.
Yeah.
And I am well aware, and Penix didn't go in the top 10 of my mock draft. Like there's going to be, we do this every time. There's going to be combos around Penix's medicals, history, with the tears he's had in the AC joint. He's been healthy for 2 years. He's played at a really high level for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what happens there. I think he's going to have a really good process. I think a lot of coaching staffs are going to go watch him throw the ball, and they're going to be like, okay, like this is a dude. But, when you take quarterbacks this early, I swing as, for a home run. And I think that would be Penix for me in this scenario.
Well, I'm going to break your heart later in this episode. But before we get to that, this time of year is all about setting up routines. It's all about setting up checklists. And the most important thing on that checklist should always be securing your family's financial future, starting with life insurance. Fabric by Gerber Life makes it quick, easy, and affordable to protect your family so you can get back to enjoying life. It was designed by parents for parents to give you high quality, surprisingly affordable term life insurance policies in less than 10 minutes. It's got flexible policies that fit your family's budget, with quality policies like $1 million coverage for less than $1 a day. You can get your personalized quote in just minutes and apply when it is convenient for you, all online and to your schedule. You can go from start to covered in less than 10 minutes with no health exam required. You join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to protect their family. Apply today in just minutes at meetfabric.com/stock exchange. That is MEET fabric.com/stock exchange. Policies are issued by our friends over at Western Southern Life Assurance Company. Not available in certain states. Prices subject to underwriting and health questions. I said I was going to break your heart with a change of a pick. We're not going to get there yet. A little teaser. People got to stick around to the show. Got to get that average view time up, folks.
Yeah, stick around, folks. Don't touch that scroll bar.
Don't touch
your laptop, your phone, whatever device you're on will implode.
Put it in do not disturb mode. Just let it ride for the next 15 minutes. Before we get to that, I'm going to go down to your New York Jets.
Oh,
your Jets.
You're going to change the only thing that's made me happy about the Jets in a month. Very nice of you. Happy holidays.
So, all right. Okay. Actually, now that I'm looking at it, this is a 2-part change. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Because one, you have them taking Keon Coleman, the wide receiver from Florida State. One, I would even pick a different receiver that was on the board instead of Keon Coleman. I would have taken Rome Odunze.
I got asked about this one a lot.
Because Rome was still on the board, and you had Rome going 2 picks after, because these guys are very close in the rankings. But my change is actually back to offensive line. And we don't have to talk too much about offensive line. I have them taking, I'm switching this one out for Alabama offensive tackle J.C. Latham, somebody who I do think is worthy of a top 20 overall pick, certainly from what I've seen from him this year. But we've had the offensive line conversation with the Jets, right? We've had this so many times on this show. We've set it up. You know, you look at, okay, you've got injuries along the offensive line, you know, questions at both offensive tackle spots. You got to make sure that group is as good as possible for when Aaron Rodgers comes back next year. Well, I mean, December, actually. Which, how do we feel about Zach Wilson getting benched? Before I move on to the other?
2 weeks too late.
Okay.
At most.
Okay.
It's also, you go to Tim Boyle. I mean, this is like not something that I think they wanted to do in any way.
Did they just sign Tim Boyle?
No, Tim Boyle's, I mean, it's when Aaron Rodgers shows up somewhere, Tim Boyle gets out of the suitcase.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Like you open the luggage and
like
it's
a cartoon.
Yeah. It's Tim Boyle, Randall Cobb, Nathaniel Hackett, Billy Turner. They all come in roller luggage. They forgot the one bag I wanted, Mercedes Lewis.
It's true. It's very true. So, okay. Anyways, I had to ask you about that.
Yeah, he knows the system, Trevor.
So, so I would have changed this pick to J.C. Latham. But we've had this conversation a million times. And Latham was still on the board here in this situation. He was the only one of the big four, I would say, because you had Amarius Mims going a lot higher in this as well. So, you know, Ola Fashanu, Amarius Mims, Joe All, Talise Fuaga, they're all off the board. J.C. Latham was still there. And I mean, we've got guys, you know, I see Jordan Morgan, the offensive tackle from Arizona. You know, you have him, sneaking into the top 20 here. So I know you like him a lot. But ultimately, I kind of just wanted to ask you the question. I would switch this out for an offensive tackle because my stance hasn't changed. But you cover this team, you watch this team, sometimes, to your own mental health detriment. Why go with a wide receiver here? Tell me kind of what your thought process was going with Keon Coleman and going with a wide receiver.
So a couple things. One, let's do this mock draft as the roster stands now. Okay. We know the Jets are going to try to get Devontae Adams, and okay, we'll see what happens. I'm not going to pretend Devontae Adams is on the Jets.
Didn't I read something that they actually made a move for him at the deadline?
Yeah.
Okay, so they did try to do that.
I don't think anybody was in the office. Like, remember the Raiders fired everybody deadline day, and it was...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It seemed like there was not much response there.
Dude, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
They were like, oh, yeah, we didn't trade Devontae Adams. No shit. Nobody's working the phone.
nobody had Ziegler's number just kept ringing. Hopefully he had a good ringback tone.
The secretary's making NFL league changing decisions.
Yeah. No, we're not interested in trading him now. We think we got a shot with Antonio Pierce. So.
Oh, I didn't even think of that. That was all going down deadline day. So they probably just were not even. It's funny. Okay. Anyways, go back to wide receiver in the roster.
So let's assume that, Devontae is not a Jet. Let's say the Raiders win a couple more games. Things go well. There's buyback in, whatever you want to say. So the Jets have, in my opinion, the worst number 2 wide receiver situation in football. Alan Lazard has had the year from hell. He can't get open, and when they throw him the ball, he can't catch anything when he's open. They don't have anybody that can get open besides Garrett Wilson, and occasionally Tyler Conklin. But once again, I'm thinking wide receiver here. So wide receiver is a massive need for the New York Jets right now. Mm-hmm. It is a massive need right now. And then somebody said, okay, well, what do you do about the offensive line? And this has definitely changed a little bit because unfortunately Mekhi Becton got hurt again this weekend. I wrote this mock draft before this weekend.
Right.
But the Jets are going to go into camp next year, you would think, if they use this pick on a Keon Coleman. Becton as their left tackle, they'd have to franchise tag him or find an extension. And it's just an ankle sprain for Becton, but it stinks that he got hurt again. This is all 4 years of his NFL career. He's had some kind of injury somewhere.
What's his timeline?
It sounds like a high ankle, so it could be multi-week. Yeah, it could be multi-week injury. We'll get more updates on that in the future. But, ideally the Jets were going into camp next year. Becton at left tackle. AVT is going to be a tackle now, so he's your right tackle. And then Lakin at left guard, Joe Tippmann at center, who's played very, very well this year. And then you got to find a right guard, which you would think you could do that.
You can do that.
You could do that. Like, that's something that you should be able to do. But the reality is they're injury prone at tackle. And because I would ask you that if you went Latham, do we think Latham can play left tackle? Or would we be kicking ABT over to left tackle and keep Latham comfortable on the right side? Because ABT's played some left tackle for the Jets before.
It's an impossible question for me to answer because, like many offensive linemen who have played the game would tell you, you can do it. It's just really awkward, and it takes guys different timelines to switch from left to right. It's just a really awkward thing to do. The timing is different. The muscle memory is different. So like you can, and some guys are much better at flipping from right to left than others, but I don't know. That's a question that that's one of those things where when we talk about those, top 30 visits, that you get from a lot of these prospects, that's where you bring JC Latham in and you go like, okay, let's run some stuff with you at left tackle. Let's see like how familiar you are with this, or if it just looks like a train wreck, because that would be something that goes into the equation for the Jets. I do agree with you there.
Honestly, if I'm the Jets in this scenario, back to the Keon Coleman pick. I took Coleman because I think he's the perfect complement for Garrett Wilson. Wilson is so smooth and he's such a good separator. And he's explosive after the catch. And then Coleman can be kind of they thought about this when they signed Lazard. They thought they had this contested catch, big-bodied guy, and it's not worked out. So I love Coleman's fit with the Jets. I think he's more physical than a Dunze. A lot of people ask me that. They're like, why would you go with him over a Dunze?
I would give him that nod.
I think he's way more physical than a Dunze. But yeah, the Jets are going to be in a really interesting spot. If they trade for Devontae Adams, then I don't think they're trading this year's first rounder for Devontae Adams. Maybe I'm off there, but I'm not even fully confident that trade.
Do you think they would? I kind of think they would.
Well, because it's Aaron's, all in year, and
yeah,
I don't know, man.
But if you're gonna draft one at 13 or wherever the hell it is, you might as well trade it for Devontae, right? You're already all in.
Not sure about that. Devontae is going to be 31 in a month. Devontae Adams is awesome. Don't get me wrong, but man, that's a tricky one. No, I'm not trading the 13th overall pick in the draft for Devontae Adams and all the cap gymnastics you have to do that comes with that. Call me crazy. That feels like,
oh, I will.
Yeah, no, I'm not doing that.
No, it's I think I would. But that's also
it's an interesting conversation.
Yeah. Jets fans, please sound off.
Yeah, weigh in.
I would love to hear.
Because to go to your side though, you're sitting there going, well, you got Aaron Rodgers all in on 2024. Like,
right?
Don't do the 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
Yeah. It feels like, look, I don't know what's about to happen with the Jets. Like, I don't know if Rodgers is about to like try to come back in the middle of December, end of December. Like, I don't know if somebody's going to like step in and be like, hey, buddy,
season's over.
Like, we're out of the play. Like, you're not playing this year. We're out of the race. This is not happening. Because they're technically not out of the race yet, but you're playing Tim Boyle for the next 2 games. If you lose the next 2 games, you're out. You're basically out of it. So at that point, even the earliest of Aaron Rodgers timelines
doesn't matter anymore.
Why would you do that? Yeah. So I don't know. A lot of interesting Jets conversations, as it always is.
The conversations around the Jets when they're not playing football are so much more interesting than when they actually are. Take it from me.
And that's how you got started. That's how you got started in the draft industry. Yep. People ask me all the time, like, "Oh, how'd you get in the NFL draft?" And I was like, "I grew up a Bucs fan." They have the lowest winning percentage of any NFL team in the history of the league. The lowest. You have the Super Bowl Hall of Fame defense years. You have the Brady years, and then you have the draft everywhere else.
Yeah,
that's it.
That was it for me with the Jets. I mean, God, you had like 98, few random years in the early 2000s, back-to-back AFC championships in 09 and 10 with Rex, and then
those are sick though.
13, they were super sick, and then 13 years of just absolute pathetic decision making.
Hey, we're getting there. We're getting there.
So
we're getting.
Hey, you know what? It's okay because it brought us here.
It did. And we love that. This podcast is brought to you by our friends over at Prize Picks. We have an official Prize Picks lineup for Monday Night Football. So this is just an example. We know that the show comes out when Monday Night Football is going on, but this is an example of what you can do over at Prize Picks. So you guys can get interested in it because it's a really fun daily fantasy sports game. Okay. So you've got to combine multiple entries with Prize Picks, but that's what makes it so much fun. So the official PFF Prize Picks lineup this week is Jalen Hurts, because it's Eagles versus Chiefs. So it's Jalen Hurts over 36.5 rushing yards. Sorry, more than 36.5 rushing yards. Patrick Mahomes, more than 24.5 rushing yards. So we're getting an absolute dual threat QB duel here. And then Jalen Hurts again with more 21 fantasy points. So if that sounds very interesting to you, whoa, hold on. We went stats and the fantasy points. That's what makes Prize Picks so much fun. It is such a cool way to bet. And also, this is another thing. With basketball season here, you can pick combo projections from different sports. Football and basketball, there's a special leagues tab. You can click on that. It's specifically made for combo projections, which could include 2 or more players from different sports leagues. For example, you could have LeBron James or Travis Kelce, 10.5 combined, 3-pointers made and receptions. And like if it hits, there you go. And so it's just a really creative way to put some skin in the game, have a lot of fun watching sports. Prize Picks even has a reboot policy, so your entries will stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. For football and basketball, if you got a player who exits the game in the first half and does not return for the second, that player is automatically rebooted. Prize Picks is the only daily fantasy sports platform with an injury insurance policy, people. Go to prizepicks.com/NFLSE and use that promo code NFLSE and get a first deposit match up to $100. It is such a fun way to watch sports. And if you're going to do it, use the promo code NFLSE to get that $100. Prizepicks.com, NFLSE, promo code NFLSE, first deposit match up to $100. It's $100 free to play with if you're gonna get into it, which you absolutely should. It's always a good time. Appreciate our friends over at Prize Picks. All right, I mentioned I was going to break your heart here.
Yeah, just do it. Swap Penix out for another quarterback or the Vikings. We know.
I'm going to do it.
You sicko.
I'm going to do it. So you got the Vikings at number 21, taking Michael Penix, which if we're keeping it a buck, Penix is still better than the selection that I gave them 2 weeks ago because I gave them a corner and I got yelled at by a lot of Vikings fans, understandably so, because they were like, hey, the corners are kind of playing a little bit better. And, yeah, Kirk Cousins just got hurt. Now, this is before the Josh Dobbs resurgence. So I don't know what's going on with Josh Dobbs. I don't know if he's going to be the franchise quarterback. I don't know. Maybe they'll sign him to the Patrick Mahomes deal this offseason. You know, who knows? So that's still on the table. But because the ink hasn't dried on that contract yet, you have him taking Michael Penix because he's your boy. He is your QB3, right?
Oh, yeah. Always has been, partner.
All right. Okay. I didn't mean to insult you. You can say that with your chest. So I had Knicks as my QB3 going into the season, and I still do. And then I had Penix as my QB4 up until this point. And I have since put Jaden Daniels ahead of Michael Penix. So I now have Jaden Daniels a little bit ahead of Michael Penix. Dude, it is where I think not enough people are giving Penix credit for how well he has been playing and how explosive he is as a quarterback and how healthy he has been over the last couple of years. And ultimately just what he can do at the NFL level with that type of arm talent. I also think that Jaden Daniels is having a similar, maybe even better rise, right? Because we went into the year thinking, wow, Michael Penix had a really nice year last year. Where Michael Penix's starting point was even a little bit higher than Jaden Daniels. And what Daniels has been able to do, I would say over the last 2 years, because you and I watched him over the summer. And my take over the summer with him was really good at managing risk now. That wasn't the case when he was at Arizona State. It was last year at LSU. He had one of the lowest turnover-worthy play rates in the country, but his big-time throw rate was also way down. So it's like, okay, sure, you're taking care of the ball, but you're also not pushing it down the field at a level in which you need to do to allow your team to win games. Holy cow, is that different this year? Yeah, the turnover-worthy plays are a little bit higher, but LSU's offense is top 3 in the country in total passing yards, yards per game, passing touchdowns, rushing efficiency, certainly from the quarterback position, EPA, like it's just through the roof. And Jayden Daniels is the engine that makes all of it go. The way that he is seeing the field right now, how he has progressed as somebody who now is very comfortable hanging in the pocket a little bit more, going through that extra read, not just taking off whenever he can, because he absolutely has the ability to do it. He's becoming more of a pocket passer. He's reading defenses correctly. He's got a great arm. I don't know if it's as strong as Penix is, but man, I was watching some of Jayden Daniels' deepest throws this year, and he can still get it 55, 60 yards down the field with some good accuracy. And so for everything that Michael Penix is as a dual threat quarterback, and honestly, just how much better he has gotten each year he has played college football, to the point where I think he should be the favorite for the Heisman Trophy right now. I elevated him into that QB4 spot behind Nix and right above where Michael Penix is. So with you having Penix going 21 to the Vikings, I got to stay true to my most updated rankings, and I got to put Jayden Daniels there.
Daniels is a lot of fun, man. He's a really, really unique running threat where he is very dangerous and elusive at making guys miss once he gets out. He's not a typical slide or run out of bounds, or he likes to be slippery. He likes to try to make a play.
Sometimes I wish he'd run out of bounds more.
I was going to say, it has become a concern for me. He gets sawed in half way too often for my life. He's this tall, slender guy. He is. He's like
he's the Dwayne Wade commercial where Wade's just going up for layups or dunks. He's just getting absolutely obliterated in the paint. And then it's like the fall down 7, get up 8, whatever. And it's just like, dude, okay, but I'd rather you slide.
There are way too many times on tape where his feet are above his head when he gets hit. Like, he's got to learn how to protect himself, because while he's tall, he is very slender. And he's not a guy that I think is going to be carrying a ton of weight. I don't know if I'd want him to be that kind of guy. So it's the good and bad with Daniels as a runner, where he's so talented, but he does need to be careful. I think he's really grown as a passer. I completely agree with you. I look at the pro things, though, that Penix does, and he has done. It's been a tough year to hold your ground at QB3. Like, Bo's had a good year. I really liked Riley Leonard coming into the year. I know people are high on McCarthy. You and I have never really gotten there, but there are people that are high on him. Same could be said about yours. You and I really never got there. But the point is, there are really smart people in this industry that are there with those players, or have been there with those players. And I'll say this is a good time to say this, Trevor, because people probably wonder in the comments, we don't talk about Carson Beck because we've heard, we've seen, like, there's not a lot of expectation of Carson Beck becoming a pro after this year, but he's done a really good job this year. It's just, I don't think he's leaving.
I don't think he is either. I watched him for the most recent big board update, which, by the way, I extended the big board on PFF.com to 250 players now. It was 200, now it's 250. So I went through some of the rankings and some of the players, and I updated some guys at the top of the list as well. And I've got Beck in my top 50 now.
I believe it. It's just
because, like, he is so much more. I like Beck more than I like JJ McCarthy. I like Beck more than I like Riley Leonard, than Michael Pratt, than
all those guys.
Quinn
for
Ewers,
sure.
I think, where do I have Beck now? Beck's got to be 6 for me. I think he's behind Caleb, Drake, Bo Nix, Jayden Daniels, Michael Penix, Shedeur Sanders, and then I think 7. So I think that Beck is like QB 7 on the list for me, but he's still in the top 50 because, I mean, just he has gotten the more he has played football, which this is his first year as a starter. The more he has played, the more confident he gets, the better he is at recognizing defenses. He's remained really accurate. I don't know his big time throw or turnover where he plays stats off the top of my head, but he feels pretty risk averse as a quarterback. Like, he's not going to be a dual threat for you. And I don't think he's got the best arm in the world. I think there's going to be players, whether it's in this class or next year's class, that we're going to say, like, yeah, they've got better overall arm talent than Carson Beck does. But I think it's adequate for the NFL level and for how well he places the ball, that accuracy, that timing, the rhythm, the confidence, everything. I mean, like, he's just playing at a really high level right now. So, yeah.
And Shador is another guy. Like, we'll see. There's not a lot of expectations for him to declare.
I think him and Beck are both coming back.
Me too.
I really do.
With Penix, I mean, I put him in this Minnesota offense. Great pass protecting tackle in Christian Darrisaw. This dude just peppering the ball at all levels of the field to Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and TJ Hawkinson would be insane to me. And I think Kevin O'Connell's a really good coach in this league, a really well-prepared offense. A guy that can squeeze the most out of quarterbacks, in my opinion. I look at Penix and he's seeing it pre-snap. He's understanding where pressure is coming from. He always gives his offensive line credit in post games, but he's also setting them up for success really, really well. And he's somebody that, in terms of pure arm talent, like ball placement, it could be pretty special at times. So we know there's variables with him, medical and age and stuff, where we don't think he's going to go in the top 5 of this draft or anything like that. But
no,
I wonder if in the long run that benefits him, that he goes to a better situation and turns out to be one of the best quarterbacks in this draft class. Yeah,
I wonder too. I wonder if it's going to be something that ends up holding him from being a first round pick. It seems like you ask people, he's so polarizing. I think Penix is, would you say he's the most polarizing player in this draft right now?
I wonder what we're going to hear back on Latu. I mean, medical retirement is wild.
Yeah, but even Latu, like, okay.
But everybody thinks he's good, right? That's
right. Like,
okay, that's fair. That's fair.
I'd take him in the top 10. And there's going to be some people, I agree with you completely. Like Brad was on here last week, Brad Spielberger. If you guys missed the episode last week, it was fantastic. He did a great job breaking down a lot of team needs for everybody. And we talked a little bit about Latu, because he's watched him, and he thinks that Latu is going to be more like closer to like pick 20-ish, just because he doesn't know if anybody in the top 12, I'll say, is going to take a chance on him with his medical history. But even the people who are
wrong, I think he's on it.
Even the people who are, I'll say, lowest on Latu, if they have draftable grades on him, if there's somebody who fails him and just takes him off the board.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think
this could be the first round. Penix is like, you talk to some people, Penix is a top 15 pick. You talk to other people, Penix is like late day 2, early day 3.
I've heard it all over the place. I've heard, and then I've also heard the change. I've heard some guys that last year almost wrote him off after Indiana, watched a little Washington, and they were like, he's a day 3 developmental guy, maybe round 3. And then they watched this year and they're like, what happened here? This has been an incredible comeback story. He's a round 1 quarterback. So and you factor in, if Penix goes to the Senior Bowl and just kind of looks like the dude out there compared to everyone else in terms of that arm talent and that confidence, I wonder if it also makes a team that didn't go the extra mile to scout him this year in person enough, but they're all at the Senior Bowl, or a staff is there and they're working with him. Because I've heard really, really good things out of Washington about him over the last 2 years, like working with that staff. And it's no coincidence, since he got to Washington, what that offense has become, him, Grubb, and the wide receivers and that line all together. I wonder if that's a situation where how much the Senior Bowl moves the needle varies player to player by a lot.
Yeah.
But it feels like for Penix, it's one where you just go see him throw in that environment and you're like, whoa.
Yeah, I think Senior Bowl could be massive for him, right? Because another big detractor is, okay, you are throwing to 2 top 50 wide receivers. One of them could be a top 15 wide receiver.
Here's my thing. Do we get carried away with that sometimes?
No, I think that some people do. Yeah.
I think so. Okay, here's my thing, just to be honest. I think Ohio State has better wide receivers. I think Texas has better wide receivers, like collectively as a group. And I think that Troy Franklin is a lot better than people think. It's weird to me how Troy Franklin, I had him in the first round of this mock draft.
Yeah, you did.
Adunze's good. McMillan, I was not hot on out of summer, and he's had such a year where he's probably got to go back to school.
Yeah,
I like Polk a lot. I do. I think I've been impressed with Polk. But I just think it's gotten to the point where I'm like, why don't we have this conversation for Quinn Ewers? Or, you know what I mean? Like, it's weird to me how far that conversation went the other way.
I think that a lot of people pointed out just because they're really talented receivers. But to me, I don't really feel like it's, these receivers are making Michael Penix.
That's my point. I think it's just people helping people.
Right. Everybody, like, just lending a helping hand, helping everybody out, just, coming together as, the human race. No, it's a microcosm of the human race, the Washington Huskies offense. No, I agree with you. I think that we've seen very eye to eye on this. And this is also why I'm really excited when we get into draft season, when we get to have a lot of different people on, a lot of different great draft analysts, because we're going to have a lot of different opinions on a lot of these players. And I think that that's a fun part of draft season, because you and I do see Penix similarly in terms of that regard. You're higher on him than I am, but even with that being the case, I think that Penix has been a flamethrower of a quarterback this year. I mean, he's been on fire. So I don't think you really take that away from him. But anyways, we spent a ton of time on that one. We got one more pick. I'm going down to, where did they pick? God, it's a good football team. The Jacksonville Jaguars, picking 28. You got him taking my guy, Graham Barton.
Yeah, this is supposed to be one that is for you.
Listen,
I almost wrote underneath a little blurb, like, this one's for Trevor.
Listen, I love it. But you wrote a good mock draft, damn it, okay? I had to pick something. Right. The title of the show is 5 different picks. I couldn't show up with only 4.
4, yeah, that would have been a problem.
People would laugh at me. I get pulled off of my own podcast. I'd be giving my walking papers. So I picked the Jags. And Graham Barton pick, I think, is a really good one. They need interior offensive line help. But Xavier Legette in this offense. Big, fast, strong wide receiver. I think the receiver room needs an upgrade anyways from even the current guys that they have there. I think Legette's a major difference maker. You wouldn't have to rely on Calvin Ridley as much, which has seemed really feast or famine this year. You add another great receiver into that mix, and I think that you're really cooking with gas then. So I love Xavier Legette. I think that he's going to remind people a lot of DK Metcalf, and Metcalf ended up going in the second round. Obviously, Metcalf had the neck history injury. So that absolutely goes into it, because this dude was a monster at the combine. I mean, his tape, I think, was fantastic when he was out there. And I think that Xavier Legette has had a similarly impressive season this past year with production. And I think he's going to blow up the combine. Now, maybe not, 4.3 or whatever DK ran. That was absolutely insane, but it's going to be something that's extremely impressive for a player that is of his size, and his weight adjusted athletic measurements and metrics are going to be, to me, still off the charts. So I like the idea of a wide receiver at the back end of the first round for the Jags. So I don't hate this one. Like I said, I saved this one for the end because it was more of a nod to, hey, I think that you put together a great mock draft, giving teams a lot of really good players, and there wasn't a ton to change. But this one at least is one where I go, okay, I could see Jacksonville's offense getting more explosive, adding a unique athlete like Legette at the back end of the first round.
It makes the offense that much more fun. When you look at Calvin Ridley this year, when Zay Jones has been healthy, it's just been out of this world. So it kind of goes to show you they really need that other running partner for Calvin Ridley.
I think every team in the NFL does,
Yeah,
we just live in that age. Basically, unless you have Tyreek Hill or Justin Jefferson, or we've seen with Devontae Adams as well. Y'all need everybody needs a complement. You got to have at least 2 really good receivers in today's football.
I just think their line's been so bad for most of this year. It's
underwhelming,
really underwhelming. I mean, Lawrence can cover up some of,
at least.
Yeah, Lawrence can cover up some of their warts, but you'd like him to not have to do that all the time, to actually have some dropbacks where he can hold on to the ball and let things develop down the field. So, but it's a fun idea. I'll tell you that much. Here's the last thing I'll throw back at you. Since this is pick 28, you'd have Legette go over Ibuka and AD Mitchell in that scenario. They went a couple picks right after that. He's a very unique player.
Yeah, it's hard because I think I have both of them ranked higher, but I don't know if that's going to stand when I do full film rechecks, because just off of watching these guys live and catching college football games live, I feel like the specialness of Legette is something that I would gravitate towards over those 2 receivers. But I think Ibuka would be a volume machine for the Jags. So, that would be a great pick as well. AD Mitchell, I think that would be an immediate boost into the red zone to really help the Jags red zone offense as well. So I don't really think there's a wrong option. If I was staying true to my rankings, I guess Ibuka would be next, but I just love the idea of getting that kind of an athlete on the field for that Jags offense.
Yeah, that makes sense. They have a technician in Ridley. So
yeah,
that's what I think of when I think of Ibuka. I think more technician.
Yeah. I'm so excited to get to rechecks, man. Like just to be transparent with people out there, I have like a schedule that I've set up throughout the year where it's kind of a combination, right? I'm watching college football and I'm doing as many rechecks as I can for the players that I already have on the big board. But at the same time, it's our job to expand the big board as much as we can. We start with 100, we get to 150, we get to 200. Now we're up to 250. Once I get up to, I think, 280 players ranked, then we get all 7 rounds unlocked on the mock draft simulator. So that's kind of what we've been really pushing towards over the last month-ish. And I've been waiting for the end of the regular season, so we have all the regular season film to look at before we get into championship Saturday and then the bowl season. But I'm so excited to get back into these rechecks, man, because bowl season is like, yeah, okay, it's a nice cherry on top. Sometimes it matters. Most of the time, it's not nearly as important as the regular season film. But man, we're going to be doing some fun shows, some positional rankings after the regular season in the next couple of weeks. I'm really looking forward to that.
It's the best. It really is.
I want to go just up and down the mock. If there's anything else that you would have changed, I had one just talking point, not really a position that I would change, but I had a talking point. I wondered if there was anything else that you had about it. But before we get to that, it's not a bird. It's not a plane. It is the most revolutionary ball trimmer that you guys have ever seen. Gentlemen, our friends over at Manscaped have been working night and day to bring you a below-the-waist grooming experience like none other with their brand new lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. We're talking about a next-generation trimmer with interchangeable blade heads for whatever your mind can imagine. AI is pretty cool, but I do think that this is the biggest technological advancement that the world has ever seen. Upgrade your grooming game to the Ultrasphere by going to manscaped.com, getting 20% off plus free shipping with the promo code PFF. It is high tech in low places from our friends over at Manscaped. Inside the package, you will find the star of the show, Salon Mower 5.0 Ultra, their 5th generation trimmer. Features those 2 interchangeable blades, next-gen skin-safe blade heads, a standard one for taking a little bit off the top, and then a new foil blade to go as smooth wherever your heart desires. This bad boy also features LED spotlights to provide contrast on multiple different skin tones, so you can shed some light on those dark places as well. We're talking about 3 length setting combs for all your desired lengths, and of course, it's waterproof too. You know that because you know Manscaped's products are absolutely fantastic. This right here, it's on the cutting edge of cutting your pubes. Upgrade the ball trimmer and your life will absolutely follow. Get 20% off and free shipping with the promo code PFF over at manscaped.com. There's 20% off and free shipping using PFF at manscaped.com. I can promise you, you guys have never seen a ball trimmer look like a spaceship before. Now you can. Get yours today from our friends over at manscaped.com. All right, so the talking point that I had in your mock, this was a pick that I wanted to change, but I couldn't. The Los Angeles Chargers, you have them taking cornerback Kool-Aid McKinstry. And Jerzon Newton's on the board. And I have so often been like, oh, Chargers on the board. I almost was like, oh, this is an easy one. I'm switching this one out. We can have another Jerzon Newton discussion because he's probably going to be the only first-round interior defensive tackle. And then I looked up some Chargers numbers and I was like, God damn, their secondary sucks. Like, it's so bad, man.
It's horrific.
I think they've given up. I think they're at least bottom 10 in the NFL in EPA per pass allowed, total passing yards allowed, completion percentage against, first downs allowed, passing touchdowns allowed. Like it's so bad. So I couldn't change it. So I wanted to just let you know, like I thought about changing that one, but I couldn't even do it.
The non-Asante Samuel Jr. corners have just been dreadful.
It's not good
to them. Dreadful. But full transparency, like I have Newton probably quite a few spots higher than Kool-Aid in terms of the big board. But
yeah,
there is also something.
I also have Newton above Kool-Aid.
I didn't do this like strictly for this, but there is something funny about being the champion of a fan base. Like I came out of this mock draft and I'm like, yeah, Arizona Cardinals fans, like I am your link. of Zelda. Like, I got you Jerzon Newton and Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah, yeah, you did. You did.
Like, they
did
will,
that on purpose.
They'll be off my ass for a month.
You manipulated the mock.
Yes, I absolutely. And boy, is there a fan base that comes in volume of praise. Arizona Cardinals was the one I picked, but there are a few that they always respond because they've been a little bit of rebuilding lately and they improved. So you can't win them all. I absolutely blew it with the 3rd overall pick, giving the Patriots a blue chip, maybe generational tackle prospect, but felt good about the Cardinals duo.
Yeah, I mean you did nail that one. You absolutely nailed it. Let us know what you guys thought of Connor's mock draft. You can go check it out over at NBC Sports. Just Google his name. You'll be able to find it. He's super famous. You're not going to have a tough time doing that. But let us know what you thought. Let us know what you thought of the overall mock draft. If it was a pick that we talked about, or if it wasn't, or it could be a take on my take. You guys know how it is. Best way to do that: YouTube comments. YouTube.com/NFL Stock Exchange. We love this mock draft format, especially because it always gives people a good sounding board. We get to read these. We get to respond to these. It's always a good time. If you're audio only, you can hit us up on social media as well. Instagram and X at Tampa Bay Trey, at Connor J. Rogers. That's the best way to do that. This is our only episode this week. I know. Everybody's devastated, but holiday travel and work schedules not really lining up for us to get a second episode in this week. So you will have to listen to this one double. I expect double the views on this one. Just go back, go incognito mode on your browser on Wednesday when you normally listen to the new episode and just listen to it again. I don't know if it's browser or maybe it's IP. I don't know. Actually, you know what you should do? If you were a real fan of the podcast, what you would do is you would actually get a second router to give us this.
You're right. You know what? Challenge our fan base.
Yeah, right.
Listen,
right.
You guys need the
push. You guys need the push.
You like this show? Like it's when remember when NFTs got hot and horrible time of our existence, by the way.
Yeah.
Probably never bought one. But
no, not a chance.
What people would do that ran brands or whatever, like if you buy our NFTs, you can come to our events and do this. Like instead of us using NFTs to do that, people show their alliance by having a second router.
Buy a second router.
But it's branded NFL Stock Exchange. There's like the logo on it. It's
right,
a custom.
Right.
Imagine our shop, like the NFL Stock Exchange shop. It's like, oh, cool. Dad hat, t-shirt, koozie, router. Oh, boy.
So buy the second router. Watch the episode again. We will make it up to you guys.
We will. We'll do a triple threat.
Yeah, we want to do a big mailbag episode at some point. So like we'll have like the 2 regularly scheduled episodes, but then we're going to throw in a mailbag episode at some point, whether it ends up being not this week, but next week or the week after. We'll give you a bonus 3rd episode in there at some point.
Did we lose our voicemail account?
No, I think we have it.
That was always fun.
Oh yeah. Like playing the
voicemails. They always give me a good smile or a laugh.
Call-ins? Yeah.
Oh yeah. It was great. Maybe we bring that back for a mailbag.
I don't know if I can't remember if Ryan's ever logged into that before or not. We've done it before a couple of times in the show, and it is fun.
If we don't have it anymore, we'll just read them. But we'll find a way. We will make it up to the addicts with a week that has 3 shows, one fully dedicated to mailbags, because we've decided to actually spend one day with our families, Thanksgiving only, one night only, Thanksgiving, and then it's back to business.
Yeah, and there's 3 football games happening during.
I was going to say, it's a total sham. It's a total sham. And now there's a Black Friday game. So it's.
Oh, yeah.
Jets Dolphins, Tim Boyle Bowl.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have to work that game?
Of course. Of course.
So your holiday has to end because you got to go.
My holiday will
Tim
be
Boyle
certified cheat because it'll be great with my fiance's family, like the food there, the people there, they are awesome. They are great people to holiday with. But I will admit on the podcast, and this is not something I do very often as a responsible adult, I get a little hammered on Thanksgiving because usually it's Black Friday is one of my weird days off of the year.
Yeah, Blackout Friday.
Right. We usually don't do a fantasy football happy hour show. There's no NFL going on. I've recorded all my podcasts Monday through Thursday. So Thanksgiving's a rare holiday where it's like, I could have that extra IPA or something like that. Back to the beginning of the show with Tony Romo. But no, not this year. Thank you, NFL schedule. I was sitting there with my cup of apple juice with my soup pressed and packed.
Do you
You don't know what I said after the Jets could score at all against the Bills for like week 5 in a row?
Yeah.
I literally said, I got dressed up for this again. I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's my dream job, but it's still very funny.
I know, it is fun. When I cover
It's
the Bucks,
sickening.
when I cover the Bucks Repeat Report, I did the whole day. Like I dress up every Sunday.
Oh,
I'm getting there like 2.5 hours, 3 hours early because like it is like it's a dream job. You treat it like that. It's amazing. You get to work with some great people. You get to be in it. Like I got to be in the stadium to watch you get all this stuff. But at the same time, I was watching Jameis's 30 for 30.
That's what I was just going to ask. You did the Jameis year.
Correct.
Oh my God, that's iconic.
Brother, I was in the press box when on the first play. This is the last game of the season, right? The last game of the season. He has thrown 29 interceptions. We're all like, is he going to do it? The game is tied and goes to overtime. Okay. And he's thrown 29 interceptions on the season. And I remember looking at Rick Stroud. Rick Stroud, who's worked for the Tampa Bay Times for many
legendary.
Yeah. And I remember looking at him and Rick looks at me and he's like, there's no way he's going to do it. Is he? And I was like, there's no way this happens in overtime. The first play of overtime, he hits Deion Jones straight in the chest, and Deion Jones takes it in, walks it for a pick six. People forget the 30th interception for Winston was a pick six in overtime in the last game of the season in front of the home fans to end the year.
And they would have been 8-8 if they won, right?
I couldn't tell you.
Think
gun to my head, I couldn't tell you what the record was, but
I just had it open before. I was before I asked you, I was checking what year the 30-30 season was, and I was like, oh, Bucks still went 7-9 that year. It seems hard to do, but knowing that context, they really could have been 8-8.
Could have been 8-8,
and he threw 30 interceptions.
Wow. Yeah, best ticket in sports. No question. Most entertaining ticket in sports is any game that Jameis Winston has a chance to suit up in.
You should write a book on that season. Make it like maybe like a short story, like for kids or something.
Yeah, and it's just a book where it's just like the screaming, like
like
that for like
like a pop-up book.
Oh, sure.
And it's like, interception. And then like you turn it and it's like, oh, another one. And it's like little cartoons of each player that got 30 interceptions.
I was going to say something before. Oh, you brought up Thanksgiving real quick. Do you have any hot
takes?
Thanksgiving food takes?
Not really, because I think everybody's kind of come together on this. Turkey stinks. It's just it's a bad meat. You got to dump gravy on it.
No.
Fried, it's good. Very good. Fried turkey is good. Regular turkey is, man, we do this from people that ate like this 8 million years ago. We haven't evolved at all. We still do the turkey. It's all about the sides. It's about the mashed potatoes. It's about the sweet potatoes with marshmallow. It's about this, obviously stuffing's a huge hit on Thanksgiving.
Of course. Yeah.
But man, I do like when a honey ham is thrown into the mix.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't think that's a hot take though. I feel like most people are very, very lukewarm on the turkey side of it.
I love turkey. I think turkey's fantastic.
I
think
love turkey.
I think ham stinks. And if your family serves you ham at Thanksgiving, they don't love you.
What about both? It's just out there. It's an option.
That's fine.
Okay.
Turkey spirit.
Where does turkey rank on the meats for you that you love turkey?
Low.
So you don't love you like turkey. Love steak.
I love Thanksgiving turkey though. You say like
brisket.
It needs
love
gravy.
Pulled pork.
Oh,
you
it needs
like
gravy.
Turkey.
I don't give a shit that it needs gravy. It tastes
Man.
good. That's the point. It's Thanksgiving.
No, it's a meat that was eaten.
Throw it all in there. You got mashed potatoes, you got stuffing, you got gravy, you got turkey. You can go like a little bit all in one bite. Boom. It is the flavor of the holiday season. What is ham? Ham's slimy, gross, bottom tier, 0 SEC championships. That's all I got.
I mean, we got to talk about the fact that Thanksgiving's a holiday. It started in 1619 by people that didn't even have plumbing yet. And we still eat the way they did. We didn't evolve the holiday.
Good.
That's.
How do you feel about cranberry sauce?
I love cranberry sauce.
I'm kind of hit or miss with it. Like,
oh no, it's a smash hit, especially out of the can. Old school dirty. Yeah. Oh, old school dirty. You know something's real grimy and good when you like have to put the knife in the can and it just comes out like a giant thing of Jello.
Isn't
like
that gross?
Nothing should be nothing should be eaten that is that processed. But my God, is it delicious?
All right,
it's disgusting, but it's so good.
Last one. Favorite Thanksgiving dessert, or I should probably just say pie, because like
pie, poor dessert.
Oh,
poor dessert. Yeah. No, bad on the dessert.
Wait. Okay, what are you about to say? What are you about to say here?
Cheesecake.
Okay. Cheesecake's not a like traditional Thanksgiving dessert though.
Yeah, but in New York we eat cheesecake with everything.
No, okay. You also live in New York, so I guess you could eat cheesecake whenever you damn want.
Anything with like some kind of cream cheese effect, we eat almost every day.
Sure. Okay. All right.
Well, if I get it's a pie holiday, I understand.
So okay. But you're not even like, are you not touching any kind of pie? Like,
if there's adequate options, I'll pass on the pie. Now, do you want me to do the rankings of the pie? I'm really bad at this.
Go ahead.
So this is not going to be a good look for me.
Get roasted.
Yeah, I'll get shredded.
Let's go.
I like chocolate pudding pie, and then like apple pie with vanilla ice cream on it. Pretty good, especially warm. The rest of the pies don't belong taking up space. Like you only have so much space. That garbage. Honestly, all of them. Like pecan pie.
Don't stop. You can't be serious.
The 80-year-olds. That's for the 80-year-olds that made it to Thanksgiving.
Get south of the Mason-Dixon one time, Connor.
No, it's garbage.
One time.
No way. There's only so much room. No. Pecan pie.
Don't stop.
Pumpkin pie stinks. Terrible.
Pie does stink. We can
unite terrible.
On that. We can unite on that.
Have you ever had a pumpkin square though?
Was it like a brownie?
It's like the pumpkin version of a brownie with like this vanilla-ish icing on it.
I don't love
out of this world
flavor stuff.
That's sad.
Like it's to me it's fine. Like the pumpkin flavor is fine, but I don't like pumpkin pie. Pumpkin and coffee again, like Kit is fine. I can deal with that. I actually love pumpkin seeds, but that tastes nothing like actual.
Pumpkin seeds are good. Yeah,
like actual
pumpkin seeds are very
pumpkins.
Good.
But yeah, like pumpkin pie is absolute garb. Trash. Sweet potato pie, also trash.
Garbage. Can't have it. No. Not good.
All right. This is the last thing. How do you feel about key lime pie?
You know what? It's slowly grown on me over the years.
Let's go, baby.
That's how I know I'm getting old. I remember when I was like 20, I was like, who would pick that? I used to be a waiter. And whenever I'd bring out a key lime pie, I would just like put it down on the table and look at them and be like, out of all the things you could have got, and just walk away. And now that I'm getting old, key lime pie is not terrible.
You know, we were going to have an extra podcast episode for the mailbag, like we said, but since Connor said that he doesn't like pecan pie and said it belongs in trash, instead, it's just going to be a pay-per-view UFC match between the two of us. That's going to be our extra content that we do here for this channel. Appreciate everybody
pay-per-view
watching and listening. Yeah, we got it. It's Patreon only, and like that's the only thing that we have like behind the Patreon. That's what it's gonna be. Appreciate everybody watching and listening to the podcast. We absolutely love you guys. It's obviously a great time of year to be thankful. We're just so thankful for everybody who watches and listens to this podcast. It is such a joy for us to do. Hopefully you guys feel the same way when you are listening to it. Enjoy the food, however you like it.
Yeah.
The family, the football, everything that comes over the next week. I hope that you get to enjoy some great time, whatever it is you're doing. I'm Trevor Sikkema. That is Connor Rogers. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening to the NFL Stock Exchange podcast. We will see you next Monday.